Welcome back to SWGA Sickle Cell Awareness YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do a book review. And this book I've read from cover to cover. I've read multiple times and it is a great read. And the name of the book is A Doctor in a Patient's Body, Dreaming Big with Sickle Cell Disease and Chronic Pain by Dr. Simone C. Eastman Uwan. While reading this book, there were certain parts that I meditated on and that I kind of read over and over. And once I read them, I kind of meditated on them because they just stood out to me. They spoke volumes to me. And the first thing that spoke volumes to me was on page 28. And it reads, "Maybe I am meant to validate your story." And that's exactly what she did. In her story, she wasn't diagnosed at an infant with sickle cell. She was diagnosed later in life, just like I was, but she was diagnosed prior to than when I was diagnosed, because I wasn't diagnosed until I was 38 years old. So that was, thank you. You just confirmed that not everybody is diagnosed in their infancy. Another thing that stood out to me is on page 64. And this stood out to me because when I was in college, I wasn't diagnosed with sickle cell. So this stood out to me because it's something I did not knowing that means a lot to me. I'm going to read what it says. "The first order of things is to register with the Office for Disability Students Services on campus, identifying yourself as someone who is in need of disability accommodations." I was diagnosed at Valdosta State University with a mild form of dyslexia. I was diagnosed with dyslexia through our education program, and with that diagnosis, they allowed me to record my classes. That's a part of my accommodations, doing a recording of my classes. And I was also identified as an audio learner. That's my dominant style of learning. I'm not visual. I'm more of an audio learner than I am of a visual learner. So I had to take this paper to each one of my professors, and they had to sign off on it, where I could record the lectures, play them back, and then when it was testing time, most of the time I would take my exams in my professor's office prior to the rest of the students taking the exam. And usually they'll kind of put me in the office and like, "Monica, you can't leave until everybody's finished with taking the test," because they didn't want me helping nobody else. And that's the right thing to do. But by the time I got started and by the time everybody finished, it was about the same time, because I needed that extra time. And then I read the questions to myself. And once they made these accommodations for me, my grades went from a C to an A. My grades improved drastically. So, and I was a member of the disability student offices. I held meetings, I did activities, and a part of that was a part of my public relations campaign project as well. I did graduate from the Fine Arts Building program, but the name of my program was Speech Communications with the emphasis in public relations. So most of my campaigns was based out of the Office of Disability Student Service and the Office of Minority Students, which is, it's called something else, and I think it's called the Office of Multicultural Affairs now at Valdosta State. Another thing that stood out to me in this book, and I took a deep breath. And I kept reading this. For numerous reasons. And what I'm talking about, and I'll go into more details once I read what it says. On page 72 of the book, it says, "It was also because of these drifts during classes that I was finally elevated 1 year with a brain MRI, which did in fact show abnormalities resulting from chronic sickling in the brain and damage known as Lacunar infarct. LACUNARINFARCTS. When I was in college, there were moments where I couldn't focus. And I had other stuff going on. I was drifting off in class, and I didn't know that I probably was experiencing lacunar infarct. And so that stood out to me, and I researched what that meant. And what that means is, let me give you the definition of it. Lacunar stroke or lacunar infarct is the most common type of ischemic stroke and results from the occlusion of small penetrating arteries that provide blood to the brain's deep structures. Patients who present with symptoms of lacunar stroke but who have not yet had diagnostic imaging performed may be described as suffering from lacunar stroke syndrome, LACS. Wow. I thank God every day. I thank God every day because He protected me, He shielded me, because I was experiencing that, but I wasn't diagnosed. I was experiencing that, and that was like, wow. One of the things that I experienced in college that was interesting is not in this book, but I want to share with you. Workout. I love to work out. I like to be healthy. I like to maintain my health. That's just something I've always done. And one of the things was going to the gym or doing extreme walking while I was in college. And once I work out like 1 or 2 days, or I walk 1 or 2 days, after that, you weren't going to see me walk again. Maybe a month or 2 later. My friends, they would still do their walking and everything, but me, but I had one friend that would walk with me and walk at my pace. So when she would check on me, and I'm like, Vanessa, I ain't going back out there. I don't feel the best. My body's aching. But the sign in the gym says no pain, no gain. And I took that literally. But back to the book. I highly recommend this book. And I also want you to know that it is the #1 best-selling international. And it should be. This is a great book. It's one of the books I recommend you add to your advocacy work. It's one I'm going to add to my advocacy work. And it's one that definitely need to be read if you know someone with sickle cell or chronic pain. And you want another perspective of someone living with sickle cell, and you want to be inspired, because it talks about dreaming big with sickle cell disease and chronic pain. So I think it's very important that this book be read by as many people as possible. It's a great read. It's something to keep in your library. It's something to refer back to. It inspires. It definitely inspired me. So thank you, Dr. Simone C. Eastman Uwan. Thank you. Great read, great write. Thank you. And that concludes this video. Don't forget to like, to comment, and subscribe to SWGA Sickle Cell Awareness YouTube channel. Until next time, goodbye.